I canceled my best friend's baby shower 15 minutes after it started. Not because the cake was wrong. Not because the decorations didn't arrive. Not because the weather ruined the backyard setup I had spent all Friday preparing. I did it because I was finally done throwing parties for people who had burned my house down and then asked me to hold the hose while they warmed their hands. My living room was full of people. The lights were on. Music played softly. There were pink and cream balloons tied to the back of every chair. The dessert table was perfect, covered in tiny cupcakes with pastel frosting and a cake that said ready to pop. I had spent 3 nights scrolling through Pinterest, trying to make something beautiful for someone I thought deserved it. And in the middle of the room, sitting in the chair I had dragged in from the guest room and covered with a blush throw, was my best friend of 23 years. Her name was Hannah. She was pregnant, glowing, her hands resting on the belly that shouldn't have concerned me, smiling at me like I was her maid of honor, her sister, her safe place. I had been all of those things. Until that moment. I walked to the center of the room, took the cordless mic we usually used for karaoke nights, tapped it twice so everyone would look, and said calmly, "We are not doing this today." At first they laughed, because who says something like that when the fruit platters are still cold and the guests are holding glasses of punch? "I mean it," I continued. "You can all take your gifts home. I'll pay you back for the food." Hannah looked up at me with confusion written all over her face. "What are you talking about?" she asked, too loudly. "Olivia, what's going on?" I looked at her belly, at the ring on my finger that suddenly felt too heavy, and I said, "I'm not hosting a baby shower for the woman who slept with my husband." The room went silent. The sound of plastic cups shifting in trembling hands was deafening. Hannah's hand went to her mouth. "No," she said, shaking her head. "No, no, no." "Yes," I said quietly. "And I'm done pretending I don't know." For a moment, no one moved. Then her aunt gasped. My sister muttered, "Well, damn." A woman near the dessert table said, "Oh my God." I lifted my phone, the screen glowing with the messages I had read again and again until I could recite them from memory. I didn't wave it around. I just showed it to the 2 women nearest to me. They looked, their faces shifting from curiosity to shock and then to disgust. Hannah stood up, unsteady, hand pressed against her lower back. "It's not what it looks like," she said. "Then congratulations," I told her. "You finally get to find out what it looks like." She started crying loud, messy, desperate sobs, the kind that had gotten her out of trouble since we were 12. 3 women immediately stepped toward her, ready to comfort. "No," I said sharply. "Sit down." They froze. "You can comfort her when you hear what she did." I turned back to the crowd. "I'm sorry you all came, but this isn't happening. There will be no baby shower today." And before my knees could give out, I walked into the kitchen and leaned against the counter, breathing in the heavy silence that followed. That was the moment everything broke open. But it hadn't started there. No. The roots of this had been growing for decades, under the surface of what everyone called an unbreakable friendship. I met Hannah when we were 9 years old. I had 2 braids and knockoff sneakers. She had a scraped knee and a loud laugh. Her parents fought constantly. Mine worked too much. She started spending time at my house after school, and before long, my mom began setting an extra plate at dinner without even asking. We were inseparable, 2 halves of a friendship everyone admired. But even back then, the balance was off. I was the caretaker, the problem solver, the one who planned, organized, remembered birthdays, brought snacks, covered for her when she forgot her homework. And she was the chaotic one, the girl who forgot everything but expected me to remember, the one who borrowed my clothes and returned them stained. The one who always seemed to be at the center of drama, but somehow never responsible for it. When her dad left, she stayed with us for 3 weeks. When she got suspended for fighting, I helped her write an apology letter. When she cried over the first boy who dumped her, I held her hand and said, "You deserve better." She looked at me with those teary eyes and said, "I don't know what I'd do without you." I didn't realize that was both a compliment and a warning. The older we got, the more she leaned, and the more I carried. In college, I got a job, studied hard, and built a routine. She dropped out after one semester, said school wasn't for her, said her professors didn't understand her creative mind. I sent her money once when she couldn't pay rent. Then again, and again. She always said, "I'll pay you back," but she never did. I told myself she would one day, that she just needed a little more time. When I met Daniel, my husband, at 27, Hannah was the first person I called. She screamed in excitement. She helped me pick a dress for our first date. She told me I finally deserved someone stable. Daniel was everything she wasn't. Quiet, reliable, solid. He remembered birthdays. He folded laundry. He kept his promises. When he met Hannah, he said, "If she's your person, she's my person too." And I thought, how lucky am I? I built a family that includes everyone I love. But the truth is, some people can't stand to see you happy. They don't know how to exist in your joy unless they're the reason for it. Hannah was happy for me, or at least she acted like she was. She was my maid of honor. She planned my bridal shower. She cried at the ceremony and whispered, "You deserve this." And I believed her. After the wedding, she came by often. Sometimes too often. Daniel didn't mind. "She's your best friend," he'd say. "She's family." When her latest relationship fell apart, she asked if she could crash with us, just until she got a new place. I said yes. Daniel helped move her things. He cooked extra for dinner. He fixed the shelf in her room. I thought it was kindness. I didn't see the danger in it. The first time I noticed something off, it was small. I came home from work one evening and found the two of them sitting in the kitchen laughing at something on his phone. They looked up when I walked in startled, but only for a second. Hannah said, "Liv, you're back early." Daniel kissed my cheek and said, "Hey babe." It felt normal, but something in me filed it away. A flicker. A moment that didn't fit. I told myself it was nothing, that I was being paranoid, because Hannah was family. And family doesn't do things like that. Or so I thought. Months passed, and Hannah finally moved out after finding a new apartment. The house felt peaceful again, quieter, warmer, balanced. Daniel and I got back into a rhythm. But peace doesn't last long when someone's chaos depends on your stability. Within half a year, Hannah started visiting again, this time when I wasn't home. She'd drop something off, pick something up, or just be in the area. Daniel would mention it casually at dinner. Hannah stopped by, he'd say, and I'd smile, pretending it didn't bother me. But it did. Deep down, it did. I started noticing things that didn't sit right. A cup left in the sink when I was gone all day. A perfume scent that wasn't mine. Laughter I heard through the phone when I called home early and Daniel answered, saying, "Oh, Hannah's just here helping me with the shelf." Helping. That was always her word. Hannah never took. She helped. She borrowed. She needed. I wanted to believe she was still the girl who slept on my couch because her parents were cruel. I wanted to believe my husband wasn't the kind of man who'd betray the woman who trusted him most. So I told myself stories. That's what we do when reality scratches too close to the surface. We rewrite it into something softer. But the distance between Daniel and me grew anyway. We argued more. About money. About time. About nothing. He'd say, "You're always busy." I'd say, "I'm holding everything together." He'd say, "You've changed." And I'd wonder when he stopped sounding like a partner and started sounding like an accuser. Then one night, after another small fight, I sat alone in bed while he went for a drive to clear his head. I thought about calling Hannah to vent. And then I stopped. Because suddenly I remembered that laughter in the kitchen, that look they shared months ago, the way she always managed to be there when I wasn't. I didn't call her. I just lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking that something inside my marriage had shifted. The next morning, I found a text from Hannah that said, "I think I might be pregnant, LOL." Just like that. Casual. Thoughtless. Cruel in its simplicity. I stared at the screen for a full minute before replying. "Oh my God. Who's the dad?" "It's complicated," she wrote back. Of course it was. I called her. "Is it Derek?" No, is it the guy from the gym? No, then who? I don't want to talk about it yet. Does he know? He will. Is he involved? I hope so. I swallowed the unease rising in my throat and said, "You're not alone, Hannah." She sighed with relief, like she'd been waiting for me to say it. Can I have the shower at your house? What? Please live. My mom will make it a disaster. I want it at your place. You always make everything perfect. You're my only person. That line. She had used it my whole life. You're my only person. I said yes. I always said yes. I planned the entire thing, the theme, the food, the decorations. I made lists. I baked. I cleaned. I took a day off work. I told myself I was doing something kind. I didn't know I was planning my own humiliation. 2 weeks before the shower, I found Daniel's old phone while organizing the hallway console. The one he'd claimed was lost in an Uber months ago. It was dead, but curiosity, or maybe intuition, made me plug it in. The screen flickered to life. No passcode. I should have stopped there. But something told me I already knew what I was about to find. The messages were all still there. I scrolled absently until I saw a name that made my blood run cold. H. Not Hannah. Just H. I opened it. She gone. Yeah. Left half an hour ago. I miss your bed. I miss you. My breath caught. I scrolled up. You know I've loved you since the day Liv introduced us. Don't say that. It's true. You'll always be her best friend. Which is why I can't tell her. My hands started shaking. I kept scrolling. The timestamps matched the nights I had stayed at my mom's while she recovered from knee surgery. Photos followed. Hannah wearing Daniel's hoodie in my kitchen. Her legs on our couch. The guest bed. Her hand on his chest while he slept. And then one more message. I'm late. You sure? Took 3 tests. Shit. Relax. She'll help me. She always helps me. We don't have to tell her it's yours. How? I'll say it's my ex. He's black. So, baby will look like me. Then we figure it out later. We can both start fresh. I sat on the floor holding that phone like it was burning me. I didn't cry. I didn't throw it. I just stared at it and felt my entire body turn cold. My husband had slept with my best friend. She was pregnant. And they had planned to let me throw her a shower for their baby. I didn't confront him right away. I waited. I watched. I wanted to see what betrayal looked like up close. The next day, he kissed me goodbye, same as always, said he'd be home late, said he was playing basketball with the guys. I nodded, pretending. That night, I texted Hannah. You excited for Sunday? YSSS, she wrote back. You're the best friend ever. I stared at the screen. Always, I typed. The lie felt heavy in my chest. She sent pictures of baby shower ideas. Do you like the banner that says, "Oh baby" or "Little Miracle"? She asked. Either, I replied. She sent a voice note. You're honestly like my sister. I love you so much. I closed the message and whispered to myself, you don't even know what love means. The night before the shower, Daniel was quiet. He sat on the couch scrolling through his phone, acting like everything was normal. I sat across from him, my heart pounding, wondering if he knew I knew. He looked up once, met my eyes, and smiled faintly. Big day tomorrow, he said. I nodded. Yeah, big day. I barely slept. The morning came bright and cruel. The house smelled like sugar and flowers. My sister came early to help. She asked if I was okay. You're too calm, she said. I'm fine, I lied. Guests arrived. Hannah was late, of course. When she finally walked in, radiant and glowing, the room lit up. You did all this for me, she said, hand to her chest. Of course, I said. You deserve it. And then I watched her take pictures in front of the banner I had hung, laughing, posing, smiling at the people who thought I was her angel. She thanked me again, told me I was her rock. I smiled back, but my mind was elsewhere. The time ticked by. The chatter grew louder. My heart kept counting down. 15 minutes in, I walked to the center of the room. I tapped the mic. I looked at her, and I said, we are not doing this today. After I said those words, The room went still. Hannah blinked up at me, her smile frozen, confusion flickering across her face as she realized I wasn't joking. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. "Olivia, what's going on?" I stared at her for a long second and then said, "I'm not hosting a baby shower for the woman who slept with my husband." Gasps filled the air. Someone dropped a cup. Another woman whispered, "Oh my God." My sister stood quietly by the counter, her arms crossed, eyes hard. Hannah's lips trembled. "That's not true," she said. "You're crazy." "Then let's ask Daniel," I said. "Should we call him?" Her face drained of color. She looked around wildly, as if searching for a way out. "You're ruining everything," she hissed. "You're ruining my life." "No," I said calmly. "You did that all by yourself." She started crying, loud, dramatic sobs, and for a moment, I felt that old reflex, the urge to comfort, to fix, to say, "It's okay." But it wasn't okay. Not this time. "You can all go home," I told the guests. "The shower's over." I walked into the kitchen, leaned against the counter, and let the noise of whispers and shuffling fade behind me. A few minutes later, Hannah stormed in after me, her mascara streaked down her cheeks. "How could you do that to me?" she demanded. "How could I?" I repeated. "How could you?" "It wasn't supposed to happen," she said. "We were drinking. You had gone to your mom's. We were talking about you, about how strong you are, how put together, how you always know what to do." I said I wish someone would take care of me like that. And he said he wished someone would take care of him like that too. And it just happened. "Do you even hear yourself?" I asked. "You were lonely, so you slept with your best friend's husband?" "It wasn't like that." "It's exactly like that. You left me," she said, and for the first time, she looked almost small. "You stopped picking up the phone. You got busy. You started saying no. You started choosing him over me. That's what marriage is, Hannah," I said quietly. "That's what adulthood is. You don't get to be number one in my life forever." "I gave you so much," she said. I almost laughed. "You gave me company. I gave you everything else." "Please don't tell people it's his," she whispered suddenly. "Why not?" "Because then no one will help me," she said, voice trembling. There it was. The truth, bare and ugly. Not love. Not guilt. Just fear of losing her safety net. "You used me," I said. "You needed me to save you. And when I stopped, you found a new way to make sure I couldn't leave it by tying yourself to my husband." She stepped closer. "You can't leave me, Liv." I took a deep breath. "Watch me." I walked out of the kitchen and left her standing there in tears. Daniel came home an hour later, just as the last guests were leaving. He looked confused at the mess, the deflated balloons, the untouched food, the scattered decorations. "What happened?" he asked. "I canceled the shower," I said. "Why?" "Because I found your old phone." He froze. His eyes darted toward the hallway. "You went through my stuff?" "You went through my friend," I shot back. He ran a hand through his hair. "It was a mistake." "You kept making it," I said. She was lonely. So was I. "You were always busy." "I was building a life for us," I said. "You were building a life for yourself." He sat down on the couch, head in his hands. "It didn't mean anything." "You told her things about me," I said. "You told her I didn't want kids. You told her we were drifting apart. You let her wear my clothes. You let her sleep in my bed. Don't you dare tell me it didn't mean anything." He looked up at me with watery eyes. "I didn't know how to tell you. So you let me plan a party to celebrate your mistake?" He sighed. "I didn't think you'd find out." "That's worse." I felt a calm I didn't recognize spreading through me. "You need to leave." "This is my house too," he said weakly. "Not anymore," I replied. He hesitated. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Maybe you should ask Hannah," I said. He stood there for a long moment, then finally picked up his keys and left. The door closed behind him, and the silence that followed was heavier than any sound I had ever heard. That night, I didn't cry. I cleaned. I took down the decorations. I threw away the cake. I erased her baby shower from my home. The next morning, I filed for divorce. It was messy, but it was necessary. People talk about heartbreak like it's loud, but mine was quiet, slow, and steady, like a wound healing from the inside out. Hannah tried to call me. I blocked her. Her mother called, saying, "She's pregnant. How could you abandon her?" I said, "I was married. How could she betray me?" I stopped answering after that. A month later, her cousin posted a picture online. A baby boy, cheeks rosy, a dimple that was unmistakably Daniel's. The caption said, "Our miracle boy. God restores." I closed the app. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel anger anymore. Just relief that the story wasn't mine to carry. Daniel tried to come back twice. "We can go to counseling," he said. "We can fix this." "You made a child," I said. "That's not a mistake. That's a choice." "I miss you," he said. "You miss the version of me who fixed everything for you," I replied. "You can forgive me," he pleaded. "I can," I said. "But that doesn't mean I'll stay." I signed the papers. I sold the house. I moved into a smaller place near the ocean. It was quiet there. Clean. Empty in the best way. I got a dog. I learned to enjoy mornings without chaos, without texts from people asking for favors, without having to shrink myself to fit into other people's problems. Some nights were hard. I won't lie. The loneliness hit in waves. But it was honest loneliness. The kind that heals instead of festers. I started walking on the beach at sunset, just to remind myself that life could still be beautiful. And one morning, while carrying a heavy bag of dog food outside the local bookstore cafe, I almost dropped it. A man nearby stepped forward and said, "Need a hand?" He had kind eyes. A calm smile. I nodded. "Thanks." He carried it inside for me, set it down gently, and said, "Those bags should come with a warning label." I laughed for the first time in what felt like years. He ordered coffee. I sat by the window. He sat 2 tables away. A week later, he was there again. Then again. His name was Marcus. He was a civil engineer. Divorced 5 years. No kids. He liked jazz and quiet mornings. He didn't talk too much, and he didn't ask invasive questions. He didn't try to fix me. He just showed up week after week with a small smile and an easy calm. One day, when it started to rain, he asked, "Do you live nearby?" "Yeah," I said. 2 blocks. "Then we should wait it out. The storms here blow over fast." So we talked. About music. About books. About how neither of us liked small talk, but somehow didn't mind it with each other. It felt natural. Easy. Safe. We started seeing each other on purpose after that. Coffee turned into walks. Walks turned into dinners. Dinners turned into long evenings talking about everything and nothing. For the first time in years, I felt peace instead of anxiety. I told him about what happened eventually. About Daniel. About Hannah. About the baby shower. I expected pity or maybe discomfort. Instead, he just said that must have been hard. It was, I admitted. But it also freed me. He nodded. Sometimes breaking hurts less than bending forever. I smiled. Exactly. Months passed. We grew closer. Slowly. Gently. No grand declarations. No rushing. Just quiet consistency. One evening, while we were cooking dinner, he said, "You know, you're the calmest person I've ever met." I laughed. I wasn't always. "Then you've earned it," he said simply. I realized then that love wasn't supposed to feel like surviving. It was supposed to feel like breathing. When Marcus asked me to move in a year later, I said yes without fear. No hesitation. No ghosts whispering in my ear. Just peace. Sometimes I still think about Hannah. Not with anger. Just with a strange kind of sadness. I hope she grew up. I hope she learned. But I don't need to know. Some stories don't need closure. They just need distance. People say loyalty means staying. I used to think that too. Now I know loyalty means telling the truth, even when everyone's watching. It means choosing yourself before someone else burns down your life. And if anyone ever called me the villain in her story, that was fine. Because I was finally the hero in mine.